Hey everyone. Tonight we're taking a turn into the shadows. It's a journey through a time of disease, punishment, and questionable soup. Welcome to the real Middle Ages. Forget the glamorized version full of shining armor and majestic castles. Hollywood lied. The actual experience? Let's just say most of us wouldn't survive 24 hours. Before we get into it, take a second to hit that like button and subscribe, only if you truly enjoy this kind of content. And let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is right now. It's always amazing to see our little community tuning in from all corners of the globe. Now then, dim the lights, maybe switch on a fan for that gentle hum in the background, and let's settle in. Because tonight, we're heading back to the year 1325. First, the good news. You're alive. The bad news? So are the fleas. Your bed is basically a half-decayed pile of straw crawling with bugs, filled with hay that smells exactly like the barn floor it used to be, because, surprise, it was a barn floor 3 months ago. No memory foam, no plush pillows. Egyptian cotton sheets? Not a chance. You've got one coarse wool blanket, unwashed since last winter, now weighing as much as a small cow from all the built-up filth. You open your eyes to the clang of a distant church bell. That's your wake-up call, the medieval version of an alarm clock. It's loud, relentless, and somehow even less forgiving than your phone's default ringtone. Your house? A humble wooden hut with a single room, no windows, and a wide-open floor plan shared by your family, a few animals, and all the bugs that call your walls home. The aroma in the air is layered. Picture a medley of sour beer, body odor, livestock funk, and something that might be mold but probably isn't worth investigating further. Scented candles don't exist, and even if they did, they'd just melt right into the dirt floor. You try to stretch, instantly regretting it as the icy air bites and your joints scream in protest. At 22 years old, you're considered middle-aged. Your spine creaks like a wagon wheel, and your knees sound like a peasant shaking a sack of gravel. Getting up is a risk in itself. The floor is either damp from last night's rain leaking through your thatch roof, or it's stiff with something the neighbor's chicken left behind. Either way, your bare feet are now officially part of the medieval biosphere. And as for privacy, that concept doesn't exist. Your entire household, including at least one stray cousin who refuses to leave, is rising beside you. No bedrooms, no curtains, no personal space, just one big shared life. Welcome to your morning in medieval Europe, a world where you're never truly alone, because rodents, fleas, and 8 other people are always within arm's reach. And that is just the start of your day. It starts here, and somehow it only goes downhill from this point. So you've officially emerged from your itchy, bug-ridden pile of straw that passes for a bed in 1325. Congratulations. Now comes nature's urgent call, and it's not gently tapping at the door. It's banging on it with both fists. This is where you'll start missing modern plumbing. There's no porcelain throne, no toilet paper, no handle to flush, not even that awkward plunger tucked in the corner. Going to the bathroom in the Middle Ages is part scavenger hunt, part group activity, and fully traumatic. If you're a peasant, your restroom is a wooden bucket tucked behind the house, already filled to the brim thanks to Uncle Wolfstan's disastrous turnip binge last night. The smell? Think end of days level pungent. You hold your breath, handle your business, and here's where things go from bad to medieval. You toss it into the street. Yes, the street. You're expected to shout something like, "Gardaloo," before chucking it out the window. That's Old French for watch out below, though most people never react fast enough. Medieval streets double as open sewers, flowing streams of human waste, animal dung, and mystery liquids you'd rather not identify. If you live in a town lucky enough to have public latrines, well done. You get to enjoy shoulder-to-shoulder toilet time with strangers. Privacy? A myth. Ventilation? A cruel joke. You might attempt small talk, just don't inhale too deeply. Toilet paper is a fantasy. Most folks use straw, rags, moss, leaves, or if they're feeling luxurious, a scrap of wool. Sometimes it's nothing at all. This might explain why handshakes weren't quite the norm yet. And if you're in a castle, surely it's better, right? Not really. You might be blessed with a garderobe, a hole in the wall that drops waste straight into the moat. Sounds clever until you realize enemies sometimes climbed up the waste chute during sieges. Yes, people broke in through medieval plumbing. That's how bad things were. Whether you're a peasant or a noble, medieval bathroom time is public, painful, and permanently traumatic. It's cold, it's risky, and it's filthy. One wrong step on a wet stone path, and you're face down in last week's leftovers. And remember, you still haven't brushed your teeth, but we'll get to that horror next. You survived the bathroom gauntlet. Surely you've earned a small treat? A warm breakfast, maybe? Something hearty to lift your spirits? Sorry to disappoint, this is medieval Europe. Comfort is a foreign concept. Breakfast, if you dare to call it that, is a grim ritual. No poached eggs, no sizzling bacon, and definitely no oat milk lattes. Instead, you crouch near the hearth and brace yourself for a bowl of something that looks and tastes like it was scraped off a muddy boot. This is pottage, a thick, goopy stew made from whatever scraps you've managed to scavenge. Grains, roots, sometimes beans if the gods are feeling generous. It's been simmering for days, maybe even weeks, and new ingredients are just piled on top of old ones. It's not a recipe. It's an edible time capsule. Next to it, a slab of bread so tough it could block arrows. It's coarse and dense, made from barley or rye, often stretched with sawdust, crushed acorns, or other fillers because actual wheat is reserved for the wealthy. This isn't something you slice. It's something you survive. And what are you washing it all down with? Not orange juice, not coffee. Nope, you're drinking beer. Yes, even at 6 a.m. Why? Because the water is basically a parasite buffet. So weak ale is the drink of choice. Low alcohol, high chance of not killing you. Even children drink it. Dreaming of meat or cheese? Keep dreaming. Those are reserved for feast days or Sunday gifts from a generous lord. Most peasants only eat meat a few times a year. Fresh fruit? Only when it's in season and not already turned to wine. Spices? Forget it. A pinch of pepper costs more than you make in a month. Salt is a treasure, stored under lock and key. So, you chew your gritty bread, sip your medieval beer, and try to ignore the distinct possibility that a rat was sampling your porridge last night. Breakfast doesn't nourish. It simply happens to you. And now that you're properly underfed, it's time to get dressed. Not that it'll do much good. You own exactly one outfit. One. A rough wool tunic or linen shift that's been clinging to your body for months, maybe years. There's no such thing as a wardrobe. Fashion? Ha! You wear the same thing until it falls apart, or until your skin does. Underwear? Optional. Maybe you have a linen undergarment. Maybe you don't. Either way, you're marinating in layers of coarse, sweaty fabric stitched together by someone who probably guessed what sewing was. Forget washing machines. Forget soap. You've got stains, stink, and a scent profile best described as fermented livestock. And if you do want to wash your clothes, get ready to haul water from the river, boil it, scrub your tunic with ash or lye, and pray for a sunny day. Which, let's be honest, is rare. Shoes, if you're lucky. If you have any, they're floppy bits of untreated leather offering all the foot support of a slice of melon. Most folks just go barefoot across mud, dung, and medieval landmines like sharp rocks and festering puddles. Your skin naturally hates you. You itch constantly. Fleas, lice, bed bugs, they live rent-free on your body. Everyone has them. Nobles, monks, toddlers, walking buffets for bugs. No one bats an eye if you're casually scratching your armpit with a kitchen spoon during a chat with the priest. Your scalp is raw, your skin is rubbed red, and if a rash shows up, too bad. There's no cream, no diagnosis. You simply accept that your new medieval companion is scabies, and he's staying for the long haul. Now that you're dressed in misery, it's time to flash that morning smile. Except you won't. Because smiling in the 14th century is a dental death sentence. Toothbrush doesn't exist. Toothpaste? Nope. Mouthwash, floss? Absolutely not. Oral hygiene isn't a routine, it's a myth. Some folks chew on twigs, some rinse with wine or vinegar, but for the most part, your teeth are left to their own rotting devices. By your mid-20s, your smile looks like something excavated from an ancient tomb. Cavities run rampant, gums swell like angry grapes, and what isn't rotted is stained by years of chewing gritty bread and lumpy porridge. Sugar is still rare, mostly a luxury for the upper class. So if you're rich, you rot your teeth fast. If you're poor, you rot them slow. Either way, toothaches are as common as rain. Persistent, dull, maddening pain that makes you consider prayer, or grabbing a pair of pliers and yanking that molar out yourself. And that wasn't a joke. People actually did that. There were no dentists. But there were barber surgeons. The same cheerful fellow who cuts your hair also extracts your teeth with a hook and a prayer. Get an infected tooth? Better start writing your will. Without antibiotics, a simple toothache can turn into sepsis and kill you. And don't expect much help from your peers. Bad breath is universal. Kissing is rare. If you're single, your desirability has nothing to do with your smile. It's based on how much land you own and whether you have a cow. Your mouth is a medieval battleground, and it's losing. So, with your jaw aching and your stomach still grumbling, it's time to go to work. There's no office, no coffee break, no raise to look forward to, just endless labor. If you're like 90% of the population, congratulations. You're a peasant. Your job is to not die while working someone else's land. You wake with the sun and stop only when it sets. Your tools are a wooden hoe, a bent sickle, and whatever joints haven't failed yet. There are no weekends, just 6 days of relentless labor, and Sunday. Only if you're not fighting raiders or begging the heavens to heal your infected toe. Your day is filled with plowing, sowing, weeding, and hauling water until your spine forms the letter S. No one cares if you're exhausted. No one asks how you're feeling. And if you're a woman, surprise! You also raise the kids, cook the meals, clean the house, care for the animals, spin wool, and pretend your husband's lice problem isn't now your lice problem. Children start helping by age 5. No school, no toys, just a tiny rake and the vague hope they'll survive the winter. If you're lucky enough to avoid farming, you might be a blacksmith, a tanner, or a barrel maker. Great, you still work with fire, chemicals, or animal guts, all day, every day, in airless huts that stink of smoke and failure. The pay, basically survival. The perks, occasional bleeding, break a bone, too bad. Get a fever, drink some warm beer, and keep going. You can't afford to stop, not even for a day. Because if you don't work, you don't eat. And if you don't eat, well, medieval Europe has a solution for that. It's called being replaced. So, you grip your shovel, ignore the blisters, and keep digging. Because in the Middle Ages, your job isn't a career. It's a slow-motion endurance test. Now that your back is on fire from laboring in the fields, let's talk about the weather. Because in the Middle Ages, temperature is less about seasons and more about ongoing punishment from the sky. Let's start with winter. There's no insulation, no central heating, and no weathering. Just wooden walls with gaps you could throw a chicken through. Your windows covered with cloth, not glass. The fire in the hearth, nice in theory, but you don't have enough firewood to keep it going because wood is expensive, and gathering it from the forest is sometimes illegal. Yes, you can be executed for picking up the wrong stick from the wrong forest. You bundle up in your one damp wool tunic, huddle near the dying embers, and still wake up with your nose frozen. Your feet permanently cold, often damp. Your fingers so stiff they feel like tiny medieval popsicles. Frostbite isn't diagnosed. It's just called bad luck. Now fast forward to summer. Sounds better, right? Wrong. In summer, your home turns into a clay oven. There's no fan, no cross breeze, and absolutely no deodorant. You sweat through your layers, but you can't remove them because showing too much skin is scandalous and also invites sunburn, insect bites, and social judgment. The flies are out in full force, attracted to your unwashed body, and the smell of last week's goat stew that's still fermenting in the corner. Mosquitoes buzz by your ear while you sleep, assuming you can sleep through the sound of your neighbors yelling and babies crying. In the fields, the sun bakes you. No sunblock, no hat, unless you fashioned one out of straw like a desperate scarecrow. And the worst part, you still have to work. Heat stroke is just called taking a bad turn. So you're either shivering in your own vel, wondering if your toes will make it to spring, or you're sweating through your only pair of socks while your thighs chafe into oblivion. And the one thing that never changes, no matter the season, your clothes still itch, your food is still terrible, and your next job's still waiting. Welcome to climate control, medieval style. There is none. Feeling thirsty? Need to freshen up? Want to splash a little water on your face to wake up from this damp fever dream of a life? Too bad. In medieval times, water isn't your friend. It's trying to murder you quietly. Let's start with drinking. The nearby stream looks fresh, bubbling, and clear, like something out of a fantasy movie. But spoiler alert, it's not. Upstream, someone just dumped a chamber pot into it. And if not that, then a dead pig is probably decomposing in it. parasites, bacteria, and the entire microbial army of medieval Europe awaiting in every sip. That's why people drank beer. Yes, beer, even children. But before you imagine medieval kids doing keg stands, understand that it was small beer, weak in alcohol, strong in survival. Brewing boiled the water, so it was safer than whatever flowed through the town ditch. Wine was another option if you were rich enough to afford it and unconcerned with functioning properly before noon. What about bathing? Surely water was used for cleaning. In theory, yes. In practice, absolutely not. See, back then, people believed bathing actually opened your pores and let the disease in. That's right. Washing yourself was considered medically risky. You were cleaner, apparently, if you never removed the protective layer of filth caked onto your skin. Communal bathhouses did exist, but they quickly gained reputations as places for gossip, scandal, and sometimes full-on medieval extracurriculars. So, naturally, the church got involved and shut many down. Even if you did want to bathe, it was a full production. You'd need to fetch water from the well, boil it over a fire, fill a wooden tub that leaked, and then pray no one else in the house used it before you, or worse, after. And rainwater collected in open barrels where birds poop, insects breed, and moss thrives. Sounds refreshing, doesn't it? So whether it's going in your mouth, on your body, or onto your crops, water in the Middle Ages is less of a life source and more of a gamble. One wrong gulp, and you're spending your final days sweating in a straw bed, clutching your stomach and contemplating all your life choices. Next time you sip tap water, raise a glass for our ancestors. They didn't have the luxury of hydration without hazard, so you drank the water. Or maybe you didn't. Maybe you just stubbed your toe on a rock shaped like disappointment. Either way, you're sick. You need help. You need a doctor. Too bad you live in the Middle Ages where medicine is really just polite torture with a theology degree. Let's start with the diagnosis. Everything wrong with you, whether it's a cough, rash, broken bone, or the creeping plague, is caused by your humors being out of balance. The four humors were blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile. According to medieval science, your health depends on keeping them balanced, like some sort of internal soup. Got a fever? Too much blood? The answer? Bloodletting. That's right, let's drain your life force into a bowl using a dull blade or a hungry leech. And yes, barbers were often the ones doing it. Imagine getting a haircut and a hemoglobin extraction in one sitting. 2 for 1, baby. Feeling sad or anxious? That's clearly an excess of black bile. The cure? Laxatives. Maybe a warm herbal purge, or just prayers and a cold compress, while everyone avoids eye contact with you and starts carving your coffin. Now, if you break a bone or get a nasty wound, you're in real trouble. There's no anesthesia unless you count passing out from pain. Surgery is done with knives that haven't been cleaned since the Crusades. Tools are heated over fire, not for sterilization, but because they just look scarier that way. Antibiotics, centuries away. Germ theory, not invented yet. They think disease comes from bad air or God being annoyed with your moral failings. Got a stomach ache? Must have been your sinful thoughts. Hope you like confessing while vomiting. If your condition gets worse, you'll be treated with more leeches, possibly some crushed beetles, and a priest at your bedside giving last rites just in case. At this point, they're preparing for the cure, known as death. And if by some miracle you recover, everyone just assumes God took pity on you. The doctor takes full credit, and the leech gets promoted. So yes, in the Middle Ages, medicine is less about healing and more about surviving the cure. After a long day of labor, lice, and leeches, it's finally time to eat. You shuffle back to your well, stomach growling, ready for the one joy left in life, a warm meal. Bad news, your meal is probably trying to kill you. Let's begin with the basics. Food preservation doesn't really exist. There's no fridge, no freezer, just salt, smoke, or the hope that winter air keeps things fresh. Your meat, if you're lucky enough to have any, has been hanging for days, covered in flies, marinated in questionable brine, and possibly shared with a rat or two. Bread is the cornerstone of the medieval diet. But even that isn't safe. In bad harvest years, desperate peasants bulk it up with bark, sawdust, or even clay to make it stretch. And if it's rye season, there's a bonus. Ergot, a fungus that causes convulsions, hallucinations, and sometimes death. It's like eating bread laced with LSD and tetanus.